Well, as you've probably heard, Google gives a grant to nonprofits that's worth $10,000 every single month, but not every nonprofit is eligible to receive the grant. In this video, we're going to break down all of the eligibility requirements so that you know once and for all whether your organization can qualify. Let's do this. Well, hey guys, I'm Thomas Costello with ReachRight. We put out new content like this each and every week, so if this is the kind of thing that you're into, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit that subscribe button. Hey, and let me say this before we go any further. We actually made a Google Grant eligibility checker that is super easy and totally free to use. It should take you about 90 seconds. You can use the link below, answer a few questions. You'll be able to find out once and for all whether your organization is eligible or not for the Google grant. But if you still have some questions, we actually made this video to break down all the ins and outs of exactly what it takes to qualify for the Google grant. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably already aware that the Google grant gives nonprofits $10,000 every single month in free ads on the Google Ads platform. If not, we've actually done an entire video that breaks down all the ins and outs of how to get the grant, how to use the grant, and how to maximize the grant. I'll put a link in the description and right here in a card, so take a look at that. But maybe you're watching this because you're wondering, is your organization going to be eligible? Most nonprofits are eligible, but there are some criteria that we do need to check off to make sure once and for all that you're eligible. And really, you can break those eligibility requirements into two parts. First of all, you have the legal requirements. Is your organization set up properly legally to get the grant? And secondly, the technical requirements. And mostly that has to do with your organization's website and whether it meets all the technical requirements that Google wants you to step through. So let's start with the legal requirements first. And they're relatively simple. You have to live in a country where you will be eligible for the Google grant. But here's the good news, is that most countries are eligible for the grant. In fact, the only two large countries that are not on the list are Russia and China. The vast majority of Europe, North America, South America, and even Asia is eligible for the grant. Now, in this video, we cannot get into the legal requirements for every single country, but I know the majority of our audience is in the United States, so I wanted to take a second to talk about those requirements. In the United States, you need to have a 501c3 status. Now, I know there's some nonprofits that are only set up on the state level, and in our experience, that will not be enough for your organization to qualify. There are some exceptions to this though. We work with a lot of churches, and oftentimes churches are set up in a way where their parent organization, let's say their denomination, they actually have 501c3 status, but on the ground level, the local church often doesn't have their own 501c3 letter. In those cases, if you can provide a status establishing letter, you can usually get your organization qualified. So as long as you're set up where either your organization or your parent organization has a 501c3 status letter, then you're gonna be good to go. Now, there are a few exceptions, and these exceptions are for all countries. You're actually not eligible for the grant if your organization can be described as one of the following: a governmental entity or organization, a hospital or healthcare organization, or a school, academic institution, or university. Now, as a caveat, if you're part of a hospital or a school and you have a foundation or philanthropic arm to your organization, those in most cases are still eligible. But if your primary function is healthcare or education, then you're probably not eligible. Those are the two primary guidelines. But if your organization isn't one of those three things, then chances are you are eligible for the grant. Now, let's move on though to the technical requirements. And this is where it can be a little bit less black and white. We know from experience when we've applied for organizations to help them get the grant, sometimes they have some problems with the organization's website and other technical areas that we just didn't really expect. So let me tell you what Google says they require of your organization's website. First of all, it must be an owned website with your own domain. So this would rule out your organization if you don't have your own domain. If you're set up on a subdomain of either a website provider or a parent organization, you will not be eligible for the grant. The most common situation for this is something like you set up a WordPress.com site. So your nonprofit is CambodianOrphans.wordpress.com. In that case, you would not be eligible because Google would interpret interpret that as an application for WordPress, which in this case is not a nonprofit. And from there, it gets a little bit more ambiguous, because what Google says is you need to have a high quality website. And really, high quality in most cases can be in the eye of the beholder. But let me tell you exactly what Google says so you can interpret it for yourself. Your site must have a robust and clear description of your organization, mission, and activities. It must have substantial content, updated events and information, clear navigation, and clear calls to action for a high quality user experience. Your site's content must be unique to your organization, it must load quickly and have no broken links, and it must be secured by HTTPS, or in other words, it requires an SSL certificate. Now, if you don't know what that is, don't worry, most web designers will know exactly how to help you with something like that. And honestly, in this day and age, if your website isn't set up with HTTPS, you have bigger fish to fry than getting the Google grant. Beyond that, Google states that commercial activity cannot be the primary focus of your organization's website. So for instance, let's say you have a nonprofit, but the primary way that you fund your nonprofit is by selling t-shirts and hats with your nonprofit's logo on there. That may keep you from being eligible for the Google grant. And they're very clear that if you have any limited commercial activities on your site, it has to be very clear how the proceeds of that commercial activity actually benefits the mission of your organization. Finally, they're very clear that you should have limited, if any, ads at all on your site. Now, there's nothing wrong if you're running a nonprofit of having some advertisement to help supplement some of your needs as an organization, but just know that if you have ads, or at least a lot of ads, this statement seems to imply that you will not be eligible for the grant in those kinds of circumstances. And case in point, we've seen many organizations that have commercial activity and some ads on their site be disqualified from the grant for those reasons. Now, let me put you at ease before we go any further. If you apply and for some reason Google doesn't like the way your website is set up, they will always tell you the reason why your organization didn't qualify, but they're going to use the exact language that I just shared with you. So use this as kind of a guide to take your best guess at the things that you need to change. The Google grant is an enormous opportunity for churches and nonprofits to take advantage, again, of $10,000 every month. Hopefully this video has helped you understand whether or not your organization is eligible. If you're looking for some help in managing your Google grant, well, ReachRight has you covered. We have a team of experts that eat, breathe, and sleep the Google grant, and our team would be happy to help your organization. Drop us a line, use the link down below, and we'll talk to you next time.